Well, breaker, good buddies. It's your old pal Billy Bob here with today's truck stop history. On this day in 1838, operations at the New Orleans Mint commenced with the deposit of the first shipment of Mexican gold bullion. The original coins, 30 dimes, were struck on May 7th until it was taken over by the Confederacy. In 1861, the mint produced several different denominations, all of which were either silver or gold. Silver 3-cent pieces, half dimes, dimes, quarters, half dollars, silver dollars, gold dollars, 2.50 quarter eagles, $3 pieces, $5 half eagles, $10 eagles, and 20 double eagles. As an origin, in 1832, President Andrew Jackson had vetoed a rechartering of the Second Bank of the United States, an institution which he felt extended credit to the northeastern commercial tycoons at the expense of ordinary frontiersmen of the old Southwest, a region for which Jackson, a Tennessean, held a tender place in his savage heart. To vex these effete dandy speculators, in 1836, Jackson issued an executive order called the Specie Circular. Take a note, that's going to be on the test. Which demanded that all land transactions in the United States be conducted in cash. As for breakfast extra time credit on Jackson and his psychopathologies, today I will tell you that as a young man, Old Hickory was known to be easily offended and was considered something of a bully. After reading for the law, as they used to call it, and passing the bar, Jackson moved from the rough-hewn nether regions of Waxhaws, wherever the hell that is, somewhere between the Carolinas, to Nashville. There, taken by the wiles of his lovely landlady's daughter, Rachel, Jackson unwittingly became a bigamist for a time, as Rachel was still married. Though finally remedied through legal machinations, the sting of this scandal stayed with Jackson for years. Soon enough in Nashville, Jackson and his beautiful beloved Rachel prospered as a planter and his lovely wife. He was a slave owner, merchant, lawyer, and politician, owning as many as 300 slaves who were housed up to 10 men or ladies per 20 square foot cabin. In efforts to reclaim a fugitive in 1804, Jackson advertised a reward for the return of his slave of $10 extra for every 100 lashes any person will give him, to the amount of 300. When a rival Southern gent called Jackson's horse racing and marriage efficacy into question in 1806, Jackson issued the now cliche challenge, "Pistols at dawn, sir." Since the rival Dickinson was considered an expert shot, Jackson determined it would be best to let Dickinson turn and fire first, hoping that his aim might be spoiled in his quickness. Jackson would wait and put a patient bead on poor Dickinson. Jackson did fire first, hitting Jackson in the chest. The bullet that struck Jackson was so close to where his heart should have been, it could not be removed. Under the rules of dueling, Dickinson had to remain stock still as Old Hickory himself coolly took aim, fired, and killed him dead. Jackson's behavior in the duel even outraged other gentlemen of Tennessee, if there is such a thing, who called it a brutal, cold-blooded killing and sailed Jackson with a reputation as a violent and vengeful man. Turning back to the money thing and Jackson's purposeful disruption of the economy for personal vengeance, his actions, combined with the Depression and the Panic of 1837, increased the domestic need for minted money. Hence, in 1835, the U.S. federal government established 3 branch mints: the Charlotte Mint in North Carolina, the Dahlonega Mint in Georgia, and the New Orleans Mint, the one we were talking about this morning. New Orleans was selected due to the city's strategic location. Somewhere over here, and it is a vitally important and remains to be center for commercial activity, including the export of cotton from the area's plantations. Large quantity of gold from Mexico also pass through its port annually. The mint's location today occupies a prominent place in civic history. It sits at one of the 2 river corners of the French Quarter, which had been the entire city, or Vieux Carré, of New Orleans. Under French and Spanish rule, this location was home to one of the city's defensive fortifications. In 1792, the Spanish governor, Francisco Luis Hector Carondelet, don't try that at home, erected Fort San Carlos, later named Fort St. Charles. The fort was demolished in 1821, and the nearby area was later named Jackson Square in honor of Jackson. As a general rule, in the United States Army, Jackson's leadership had saved the city from the invading British forces from December 1814 through January 8, 1815, the first day of the famous Battle of New Orleans. This was, of course, the very famous and last and perhaps most infamous clash of the War of 1812, last and infamous inasmuch as the pitched 18-day death match, stacking up some 2,500 casualties on both sides, commenced a full 2 weeks after the formal cessation of hostilities the previous Christmas Eve. Oops. Since 1981, the mint has served as a branch of the Louisiana State Museum. Damaged by Hurricane Katrina in 2005, after over 2 years of repairs and renovations, the museum reopened in October of 2007. As for an 1838 Liberty dime, they can fetch nearly $300 American on the open market. So as our peripatetic male tale mercifully winnows toward closure, whilst Jackson had previously become a social outcast after murdering poor Dickinson, among others, in Jackson's lifetime, total of 106 duels, redemption was at hand. His subsequent service in the War of 1812, his triumph at the Battle of New Orleans, and his particularly ruthless Indian eradication rehabilitated him all the way to the U.S. Senate. 2 terms in the White House, a treasured place on the 20, and in the teeny heart of one Donald J. Trump. That's your truck stop history for today. Keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down. See you later.